Good evening and thanks for joining us. This is NTD Business and I'm Paul Graney. The Michigan Senate holds a hearing on vote counting issues. We highlight some of the first-hand testimonies. We take a look at a group in Nevada that gave out gift cards for votes during the election. And that's not the only way they entice people to vote. New data shows U.S. manufacturing is still growing, but the pace slowed down last month as compared to October. And California businesses struggle as Los Angeles County bans outdoor dining. California governor is even considering more restrictions. A former Kansas Attorney General says as many as 280,000 ballots were transported across state lines from New York to Pennsylvania, and then they just disappeared. Phil Kline spoke at a press conference by the Thomas More Society today. He says the evidence is corroborated by multiple witnesses. One truck driver says that on October 21st, he transported boxes of completed ballots from New York to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. That, of course, would be a federal crime. He usually drives this route, though, with no problems, but when he arrived in Harrisburg this time, he was told to wait in the lot for 6 hours. Nobody told him why. Then a USPS official insisted he take the cargo to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Again, didn't give him a reason. The official wouldn't even give him a slip to say he went to Harrisburg.
I then drove to Lancaster, unhooked my trailer in its normal place, and then drove my truck to where I always park it in a nearby lot, and then I went home. The next day, it just got weirder. As I arrived at Lancaster's United States Postal Service facility with my tractor, I went to hook up to my trailer, and my trailer was gone. Not there no more.
We've asked USPS for comment but haven't heard back yet. The Michigan Senate is currently having a hearing on election issues right now, in fact. The morning was filled with first-hand accounts of suspicious vote counting activities. One Republican challenger, Phil O'Halloran, recounts seeing a strange truck that came into the voting center after the permitted time.
I returned and saw the truck leaving the DOE and followed it to the TCF Center, where it disappeared inside the rear service entrance. I then encountered a SWAT team blocking my entrance to the county board and informed the sergeant that if the truck I described was delivering ballots to be counted this late after the close of polls, 26 hours later, that it would be.
Another Republican poll challenger, Pat McMurray, said vote counters would stand between Republican observers and the ballots, obstructing their view. She says while Democrats got to sit and had food directly delivered to them, Republicans had to go upstairs if they wanted to sit and eat. But when she got back, the doors were locked. She also pointed to a batch of suspicious military ballots.
Not one of the military ballots was a registered voter, and the ballots looked like they were all exactly the same Xerox copies of the ballot. They were all for Biden across the board. There wasn't a single Trump vote, and none of the voters were registered. They had to manually enter the names and addresses and a birth date of 1/1/2020, which would override the system.
And Christina Caramo was a poll challenger at the TFC Center in Detroit from November 2nd to the 4th. She said she saw invalid ballots being counted for Biden.
On November 4th, early in the morning, I was standing at the adjudication table and a ballot came across the screen. The ballot had a straight party ticket vote for both the Democrat and the Republican. It was a filled-in circle, which is an intentional mark. It's not a dash, it's not a dot. When the ballot came across the screen, there was no other marks. None of the judges and none of the other ballot proposals had been voted on. The poll worker then said, I think I'm going to give it to the Democrats. That's absolutely absurd. That is illegal. The vote should have been tossed out.
She said when she went to challenge with the supervisor, the man began yelling at her and told the poll worker to push the ballot through anyway. Other witnesses recounted being yelled at the same way to stay away from ballot counters. Also said they saw the year 1900 as the birth date, saw addresses that belonged to churches and other very strange happenings. And President Trump's campaign filed a lawsuit with the Wisconsin Supreme Court Tuesday. It alleges there is clear evidence of illegal action that changed the outcome of the presidential election. The Trump team says the lawsuit includes 4 cases, including illegally altering absentee ballot envelopes, counting ballots that had no written application, and overlooking unlawful claims of indefinite confinement. Campaign officials say these actions affected about 220,000 ballots. The Wisconsin Supreme Court hasn't decided whether to take the case yet. And in Arizona, a judge is allowing Republicans to review a sampling of ballots as part of an election lawsuit. The head of Arizona's Republican Party filed a lawsuit last week saying Republican poll watchers were unable to properly observe election ballots. A Maricopa judge said Republicans can examine 100 mail-in ballot envelopes selected at random by election officials. They can then compare them to voter signatures on file. He also said they can review a random selection of 100 duplicate ballots. That's ballots that had problems like tears or marks. They can compare them to the originals. The judge said he limited the number of ballots because he thinks it isn't necessary to view more to figure out if there were irregularities. And a Mark Zuckerberg-funded group is in the spotlight in election-related court cases. The group is accused of taking part in violating the Constitution in battleground states.
Post-election lawsuits accuse a group funded by Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg of helping violate the Constitution in key battleground states. Zuckerberg and his wife Priscilla Chan committed $400 million to the Center for Tech and Civic Life. The nonprofit gave money to over 2,500 local election offices across the country. According to lawsuits filed by the Thomas More Foundation's Amistad Project, the group gave over $6 million to officials in Fulton County, Georgia, and to 5 cities in Wisconsin. The Wisconsin filing says state law doesn't allow cities and counties to take in millions of dollars from a wealthy partisan actor like Zuckerberg. The Georgia filing says the money was used to pay ballot harvesters and political activists to manage ballots. It also said the money was used to consolidate counting centers in urban areas to move hundreds of thousands of questionable ballots in secrecy without legally required bipartisan observation. Amistad Project Director Phil Kline told the Epoch Times that in Pennsylvania, the money led to a 2-tiered system. He said Democrat strongholds allowed voters to fix ballots against state law, but Republican areas did not because they refused to lie and because they didn't have resources or Zuckerberg funding. Kline said the center funded ballot boxes that were densely placed in a Philadelphia county, but few were sent to counties that Trump won. He also said they consolidated polling places in a way that disenfranchised Republican strongholds, violating the Equal Protection Clause. Kline says similar issues came up in other states, including Michigan.
And attorney Sidney Powell says an unknown person removed a Dominion voting system server from a recount center in Fulton County, Georgia. It's in the midst of her voter fraud lawsuits. She said on Fox that someone went down to the location where the voting machines were, claimed there was a software glitch, and apparently left with the missing server. Powell said the alleged removal took place when her team was seeking a temporary restraining order against the resetting, wiping, or altering of any of the Dominion machines. Dominion software and hardware features prominently in the 2 election-related lawsuits filed by Powell in Georgia and Michigan. The lawsuits claim that the software is vulnerable to manipulation that led to altered vote totals in the November election. She also says that the upcoming runoff elections in Georgia are also vulnerable. And a review of social media posts show that groups in at least 8 states offered cash raffles in exchange for votes. Here's more on at least one of the groups that did it in Nevada.
The Nevada Native Vote Project posted photos on Facebook on Election Day of smiling voters holding gift cards after handing over their ballots. The posts were deleted, but not before they were archived. According to the U.S. Criminal Code, anyone exchanging gifts for votes could be fined and sent to prison. One worker, Bethany Sam, who is part of the Reno Sparks Indian Colony, posted videos on Facebook enticing people to vote with gift cards.
We have $25 gift cards to raffle off, so that's a lot of money cash here.
She continued to say that she had 4 $100 and 4 $250 and a $500 Visa gift card. They also gave away free clothing for people that could prove they had voted. Sam in her video said all people needed to do was to send a photo of themselves at the polling place to enter the raffle for the gift cards. The Public Interest Legal Foundation Communications Director Logan Churchwell told the Epoch Times vote buying is a federal crime. Whether FBI agents and the DOJ Election Crimes Office is willing to involve itself is a separate matter altogether. On the Reno Sparks Indian Colony website, it lists its voting recommendations as Biden-Harris. The Nevada Native Vote Project also promoted these raffles on their Facebook pages. Sam was also quoted as saying that the votes helped get Biden into office. There are an estimated 60,000 registered Native American voters in Nevada.
And in breaking news, Attorney General William Barr says the Department of Justice has not uncovered evidence of widespread voter fraud. He says the FBI agents have been working to follow up on complaints and information they've received, but he says that to date the DOJ hasn't seen fraud on a scale that could affect the outcome of the election. The Trump team, of course, responded saying, with all due respect to the Attorney General, there hasn't been any semblance of the Department of Justice investigation. And they said that as far as they know, not a single witness of the many who have come out with information has been interviewed by the DOJ. In today's Michigan committee hearing, a witness claimed she rang the FBI twice to provide first-hand information on voter fraud. She says she hasn't heard back from them since. And in business news, stocks scored more record highs on Wall Street on Tuesday. The Dow rose over 185 points or 0.63%. SP 500 gained 41 points or 1.13%. The Nasdaq climbed over 156 points or 1.28%. SP 500 and the Nasdaq, of course, beat their all-time highs on Friday as well. Treasury yields today also rose in a sign investors are feeling a little bit more optimistic about the economy. Big tech notched solid gains while banks and healthcare stocks also drove the market higher. Investors also focused on remarks by the Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and the Fed Chair Jerome Powell at the Senate Banking Committee. They agreed that they need more aid for small businesses. And of course, a bipartisan group of lawmakers as well unveiled a new relief package today. We'll have details on that in just a moment. And American factories grew at a slower pace last month. The Institute of Supply Management, a group of purchasing managers, says its manufacturing index dipped to 57.5% and 57.5 in November. That's down from 59.3 on October, but any reading above 50 means that manufacturing is expanding. The index plunged in the spring with lockdowns, but has since bounced back. Now factories are on a 6-month winning streak. New export orders grew faster, but hiring actually dropped, had reversed the gain in October. 16 of the 18 industries reported growth last month, led by apparel and mineral manufacturers. And in the Eurozone, factory growth slowed down last month as well, but a survey shows Germany remained the driving force behind the bloc's manufacturing recovery.
Eurozone factory growth slowed last month as new lockdown measures hurt demand. That's according to the IHS Markit's final manufacturing PMI survey released Tuesday. It fell to 53.8 in November from October's 54.8. It was slightly ahead of the flash estimate of 53.6 though. Anything above 50 is a sign of growth. The PMI showed demand fell and factories cut headcount again in November, but optimism did improve as progress was made on vaccines. The Future Output Index rose to 64.8 from 62.7, its highest since March 2018. European powerhouse Germany was behind the bloc's ongoing manufacturing recovery. Export-focused companies were particularly optimistic thanks to strong demand from abroad. While the manufacturing sector continued to expand in the bloc, an earlier flash reading showed activity in the service industry contracted last month. It comes as Europe fights a rise in coronavirus infections, and analysts believe this has put the Eurozone on track for its first double-dip recession in almost a decade.
Still to come this evening, lawmakers from both sides of the aisle propose a new virus aid package. It is smaller than what House Democrats in the White House proposed, though. And a former Tesla employee loses a lawsuit against the car maker. Now he has to pay Tesla hundreds of thousands of dollars. Find out why after the break. A bipartisan group of House members and senators have unveiled a smaller CCP virus relief package. They're hoping to provide funding before some provisions expire at the end of the year. Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy says it's a victory for common sense. Both Republicans and Democrats got much if they wanted what they wanted in the bill, and it's going to create a lifeline to small business owners, doctors, the unemployed, and others, or so they say. Virginia Senator Mark Warner says extending the expiring unemployment benefits was a crucial part of the package. Utah Senator Mitt Romney says liability protections for some businesses, a key provision for Republicans, was included in the measure. The bill, according to lawmakers, has the support of 25 Democrats and 25 Republicans. And California businesses are already struggling to stay afloat. But now Los Angeles County is facing another shutdown. Business owners, of course, are very worried. But one owner decided to stand up to the governor and deny the order.
New virus restrictions went into effect in Los Angeles County on Monday, leaving businesses worrying how they will survive.
We all closed down. I mean, we went from, 10 tables, chairs out here, more patio space to nothing.
Christine Ramirez manages a Mexican restaurant in a town southeast of Los Angeles. She said the scenario this week is day and night compared to last week. Restaurants are not the only ones feeling the burden. Businesses like Art's Pawn Shop are hurting too.
Still traffic out, nobody walking. I just wish we had more people in here for the holiday season. This is supposed to be the busiest time and it's not because of all the restrictions.
Some residents support the restrictions but sympathize with businesses.
If the virus is escalating like they say it is, I think it's necessary, but it's a shame for the businesses. Yeah, it's a double-sided coin.
Others disagree with the restrictions.
I don't think the restrictions are necessary because people are going to lose their jobs. And I think they should stay open.
But the restrictions haven't stopped Alex Jordan. He's kept outdoor dining open at his diner, defying county orders.
They shut us down for outdoor dining 3 weeks before Christmas. A month before Christmas, it's without any kind of aid to my employees or even to our small business. I thought it was wrong.
He put up curbside dining and a large tent to comply with earlier requirements. And now he says it's the only way to make sure his 11 employees get paid ahead of the holidays.
That's not really evidence to me to prove that outdoor dining is dangerous, at least not any more so than all the non-essential retail that they've left open, including gyms and nail salons and stores.
He also put a sign next to his restaurant logo reading, quote, French Laundry Patio Dining, in a tongue-in-cheek dig at Governor Newsom's widely criticized dinner party.
And the California Governor Gavin Newsom said he may impose tougher restrictions over the next 2 days, including a possible stay-at-home order. He says it's to counter increasing CCP virus cases. And a former Tesla employee has to pay the electric car maker a $400,000 settlement. According to a court filing, Tesla accused Martin Tripp of tipping off reporters about alleged production delays at Tesla's Gigafactory. Back in June 2018, Tesla fired and sued Tripp in a public dispute. The car maker accused Tripp of hacking into its operating systems, stealing trade secrets, and making false claims to reporters. The judge said that Tripp identified as a whistleblower who saw inefficiencies with Tesla's goal of producing 5,000 Model 3 cars each week. Tripp didn't contest Tesla's claims that he stole trade secrets and acknowledged that his counterclaims were funded by a short seller of the Tesla stock. Incredible. And two of the biggest clothing retailers in the UK have gone into administration. It's putting a combined 25,000 jobs at risk.
British tycoon Philip Green's Arcadia Fashion Group has collapsed into administration, becoming the UK's biggest corporate casualty during the pandemic so far. It puts over 13,000 jobs at risk.
I mean, if you compare and contrast Arcadia and their performance, for example, on social media and social engagement with the likes of Primark, who don't have e-commerce at all, but Primark are consistently engaging with and talking to customers in a relevant and appropriate manner, and you just don't see that coming out of the Arcadia brands.
Insolvency service provider Deloitte said late on Monday it had been appointed Arcadia's administrator. It's seeking buyers for the group's brands, which include Topshop and Topman. The group trades from over 440 leased sites in the United Kingdom and 22 overseas. Deloitte said Arcadia's stores would continue to trade, its online platforms would remain operational, and supplies to partners would continue. It said no redundancies were being immediately announced. Green was pictured over the weekend in Monaco, where his $133 million yacht Lionheart is docked. He purchased Arcadia for more than $1.1 billion in 2002. A senior UK government minister said the collapse of Arcadia was tragic, but mistakes were made by the management. Arcadia CEO had no comment, but has already blamed the demise of the company on the pandemic. And UK department store Debenhams will close its stores after 242 years of trading. This means the likely loss of another 12,000 UK retail jobs. It has 124 stores across the UK. Their stores will remain open across the Christmas period.
Still to come this evening. Stores in New York City dress up their windows for the holidays, and this year they have a special message. McDonald's is offering a free sandwich for guys. Let's see if they shave their facial hair. This to celebrate the return of a popular and potentially messy sandwich. That and more after the break. Amazon says businesses selling on its platform worldwide made $4.8 billion in sales. That's from Black Friday to Cyber Monday. That's up 60% from last year. It also says around the world, over 71,000 small and medium-sized businesses had surpassed $100,000 in sales this holiday season to date. However, the company didn't give a breakdown of US sales or either of the big shopping days. It just says the holiday season overall has been its biggest one ever. And also on Tuesday, the National Retail Federation said even as the overall number of shoppers dropped, the number of online-only shoppers jumped 44% during the Thanksgiving weekend. It's nearly 96 million. McDonald's is giving away 10,000 free McRib sandwiches to fans who shave their facial hair. All you have to do is tweet a picture of your clean-shaven face with the hashtag #ShaveForMcRib sweepstakes and tag McDonald's. The first 10,000 will get a code for a free McRib to order through Uber Eats. The McRib makes its official return Wednesday. It's a delicious deal, and let's be honest, beard hair and barbecue sauce can be a little tricky. And it is starting to look a lot like Christmas here in New York, and it's at least in front of New York City's shop fronts like Macy's, Bloomingdale's and Saks and Fifth Avenue. Here's a look at their holiday window displays.
Stores in New York City are bringing on the holiday cheer with their window displays. Macy's this year has a special message. It's saying thank you in 16 different languages, as well as clapping hands in support of essential workers and first responders. Interactive windows allow visitors to create personal scrolling messages and record their own round of applause. Bloomingdale's hired out-of-work Broadway costume designers and local artists to help create their festive storefronts. This year, the store is using various scents to enhance the viewing experience. They're sending out the smell of pine next to a window featuring a Christmas wreath made with stuffed teddy bears. Another candy cane-themed window is sending out the scent of peppermint. The retailer's goal is to encourage people to give happy. Saks Fifth Avenue brought scenes of Brooklyn Steiker Heights and Roosevelt Island tram, while Bergdorf Goodman features dazzling stained glass windows with words like joy and peace.
As the latest business updates for today, you can catch NTD Evening News at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. They'll have in-depth coverage of the election. For NTD Business, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.